human civilization stands at an extraordinary and deeply critical threshold. For the very first time in human history, we are not merely building better mechanical tools to extend our physical strength, nor are we just designing basic computing systems to process numerical data faster. We are actively creating complex artificial architectures that are fully capable of performing tasks once considered the exclusive domain of human intelligence. This monumental shift represents an unprecedented civilizational turning point, fundamentally altering how we interact, how we think, and how we view our place in the cosmic order. As this profound technological transformation accelerates at an exponential pace, an urgent and existential question emerges for our species. What does it truly mean to be intelligent? If analytical reasoning, strict mathematical logic, and complex problem-solving can be completely replicated, automated, and optimized by machines, what actually remains uniquely human? We must deeply question whether life is merely an advanced form of biological information processing, or if there is an essential sacred spark within us that cannot be reduced to digital code, statistical algorithms, or physical data. Long before the human mind attempts to label external, modern material science excels at tracking physical data, mapping neural correlates, and describing complex brain activity with extreme mathematical precision. Yet simply mapping a biological mechanism does not explain why electrochemical processes should be accompanied by subjective, lived experience. Why do we feel the vibrant warmth of the sun, or experience the deep sadness of a musical melody? This profound mystery forms the great explanatory gap of consciousness, a philosophical canyon that objective science has yet to bridge. The reflection of mind serves as our next exploration into this mystery. To truly understand the nature of our existence, we must learn to separate the active mind from pure underlying consciousness. The mind itself does not produce awareness. Rather, it functions as a limited reflective medium. Just as a beautifully crafted stained glass window structures pure, colorless sunlight into colorful, restricted patterns on a floor, the human mind structures pure, boundless awareness into a localized, specific human experience filled with passing thoughts and turbulent emotions. Through constant social conditioning, early cultural repetition, and the structural boundaries of human language, consciousness becomes heavily associated with a narrative center. The mind continuously claims personal ownership over passing thoughts, random impulses, and stored memories, weaving them into a personal history. By doing so, it gradually stabilizes into the rigid, defensive psychological construct we call the ego, creating a deeply ingrained but false sense of a completely separate self. Our daily life moves through a recurring, predictable cycle of experiential levels, beginning with the ordinary waking state. In this state, sensory perception completely dominates our focus, and the external world appears solid, permanent, and entirely persistent. Yet this perceived reality is never raw, objective data. It is always heavily filtered, interpreted, and actively constructed by our past memories, unconscious biases, and biological limitations, making the world a mirror of our internal state. When we slide into the dream state at night, the supreme authority of waking reality is deeply challenged and exposed as fluid. The mind effortlessly generates an entirely coherent universe populated by people, vast spaces, and intense emotions that feel absolute and real while they last. This phenomenon provides undeniable proof that consciousness is fully capable of experiencing a rich, vivid reality without needing any external sensory inputs, physical bodies, or material environments. The third state of human experience, deep, dreamless sleep, introduces the total absence of active thought, mental imagery, and personal narrative. From the limited view of waking cognition, this state appears as a completely blank, non-existent interval of time. Yet, upon waking up, we intuitively know and report that we slept deeply and peacefully. A silent, immutable witness must remain continuous, persisting even when the active mind and the ego completely disappear into temporary dissolution. Human life remains heavily burdened by psychological suffering because of a persistent and ancient existential misidentification. This is the profound philosophical principle of Maya, which details the complex mechanics of cosmic illusion. Maya does not mean that the physical world is completely non-existent or a literal hallucination. Rather, it is the deceptive power of misperception that causes the unified, infinite field of reality to appear fragmented, broken, and dangerously separate to our senses. Under this deep illusion of separation, the fragile ego constantly seeks validation, security, and completeness outward in the material world. We build intense psychological attachments, tying our inner emotional stability to transient outcomes, material possessions, and external conditions. Because the physical world is inherently dynamic, unstable, and always changing, the attached mind is forced to live in a state of chronic vulnerability, fear, and deep-seated anxiety. In the modern technological age, our psychological bondage faces a powerful and unprecedented obstacle in the form of algorithmic amplification. Modern digital interfaces are intentionally designed by sophisticated engineering to exploit our evolutionary craving for social validation and constant distraction. They fragment our sacred attention spans, feed our deep-seated conditioning, and trap the ego in endless, exhausting transactional loops of liking, sharing, and consuming data. To understand why these destructive behavioral patterns persist across generations, we must examine the deep psychological law of karma. Karma is not a simplistic magical formula of cosmic reward or punishment administered by an external deity. It is the natural law of cause and effect operating within the human psyche. Every micro-pattern of thought, choice, and emotional reaction leaves a deep, subconscious impression, quietly shaping our future character, habits, and perception of reality. Because we possess conscious awareness, we can actively observe our habits in real time rather than being blindly driven by them. The very act of quiet witnessing creates a silent, sacred space between an external stimulus and our internal response. Within that conscious, unconditioned space lies our true freedom. Genuine awakening begins when we step away from compulsive, exhausting external pursuits and deliberately turn our attention inward toward the source of awareness. Through the rigorous, quiet practice of self-inquiry, we investigate the fundamental question of who we are. By identifying thoughts, shifting emotions, and social roles as mere passing objects in awareness, we steadily discover the timeless witness that precedes them all, finding an unshakable peace. Spiritual realization matures not when we frantically chase temporary peak experiences, mystical visions, or altered states of mind, but when insight stabilizes into permanent character traits. The exhausting grasping for external control naturally weakens. Reactive anger softens into deep compassion, and a quiet, unshakable presence begins to permeate the simple, unburdened fabric of our ordinary, everyday existence, transforming how we walk through the world. Looking back at the vast canvas of cosmic evolution, we can see that intelligence has always expanded outward into the physical universe. From basic biological responsiveness in simple single-celled organisms to the complex symbolic language and abstract reasoning of human minds, cosmic intelligence has steadily moved from internal survival instinct into externalized physical and highly technological tools, creating an ever-expanding web of connectivity. Today, that long process of physical externalization has culminated in the creation of artificial intelligence. Yet, to evaluate this technology responsibly and ethically, we must strip away the science fiction magic, hyperbole, and cultural hype. Artificial intelligence does not think, feel, or experience anything at all. It is a highly sophisticated mathematical system designed to transform massive data sets into high-dimensional numerical representations. optimizing patterns solely through statistical computation. Here we confront the fundamental, unbridgeable divide between artificial intelligence and conscious intelligence. Artificial intelligence is intelligence expressed through computation, strict digital logic, and probabilistic data mapping. Conscious intelligence, however, is the supreme capacity arising directly from awareness itself. It carries genuine presence, deep empathy, moral responsibility, and an immediate, non-conceptual experiential knowing that no machine, regardless of complexity, can replicate. Because humans are evolutionarily conditioned to infer minds behind complex behavior, advanced artificial intelligence triggers heavy anthropomorphic projection. A large language model can synthesize flawless poetic explanations of love, sorrow, ethics, and self-awareness based on human writing. Yet, it merely models the statistical linguistic structure of those profound concepts while remaining completely empty of the actual inner experience or sentient understanding. This brings us to the true hard problem of machine intelligence that developers must confront. Can a physical machine ever become genuinely conscious? Computational scale can multiply functional output and simulate human cognitive behavior infinitely. However, sheer information complexity and processing speed alone cannot spark a first-person subjective presence. A simulation of consciousness, no matter how perfect or lifelike, is still just data processing. In this rapid technological era, immense computational power without a corresponding growth in human consciousness is deeply unstable and dangerous. If we accelerate our technological capability while completely neglecting our inner spiritual intelligence, our advanced tools will simply amplify our existing human conflicts, systemic greed, and tribal fragmentation on a terrifying, globally destructive scale, endangering the future of life. True progress requires technology to be guided by deep ethics, inner stillness, and holistic wisdom. The ultimate responsibility does not rest on how smart, capable, or autonomous our machines become, but on whether human consciousness can evolve quickly enough to manage the power we unleash. We must deliberately cultivate our capacity for self-understanding and stillness to balance the cold, unfeeling efficiency of mechanical optimization. Ultimately, the rise of advanced artificial intelligence serves as a profound cosmic mirror reflecting back our deepest, unexamined assumptions about identity, mind, and reality. It forces humanity away from external distractions and points us directly toward our final, most important evolutionary frontier. This frontier is not outer space or digital realms, but the systematic exploration of our own inner awakening and consciousness. We do not merely require smarter algorithms, faster processors, or more massive datasets. We require deeper, unshakable awareness to anchor our civilization. The ultimate destination of our grand civilizational journey is not external computation, mechanical mastery, or technological dominance, but the timeless, radiant realization of our essential being, discovering that the freedom we sought externally was always within.